Well, hello everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight for this fancy book review club, the Truckers Book Review Club. And if you're wondering what that is,
Fancy.
picture this. You're going down the road, tooling across Nebraska late at night, talking about, "Oh, I'm bored. I need me some entertainment, need to learn something, need something to keep me awake." Why not? Why not put in an audiobook? Entertain yourself and educate yourself. And then put in one that we're going to review here and then come talk about it with us. So tonight, as always, here is Snorlord, the metalhead Viking caveman trucker. Thanks for coming in, Mr. Snorlord.
You're welcome. I'm glad to be here. It is a great joy, sir.
Awesome, awesome. Are you or are you not at Hogwarts?
That is a mystery. Only certain people can see that. So if you can
Ah,
see Hogwarts, then you're my kind of person.
okay. I myself am back in the junior high classroom here because that's the last time I remember reading Fahrenheit 451. I believe it was probably eighth grade. So I went back and I tend to do the audiobooks. You read the physical book, and we both finally got done with it. It's been a while since we did one of these, so I'm happy to do it again. And boy, first impressions. Give me your first impression.
Um, can you hear me? Okay. So I remember. So I'm going to do two stages here. The first impression, as I think it was in ninth grade when I read that, and then the second first impression when I read it recently. And the first impression as a teenager, I get a few of the references. I'm shocked at the lack of empathy of the people, but you don't really understand why. And then you read it, you know, in your 50s and you're like, "Oh, now I know what he's talking about." And it was even more shocking if that's even possible. Like the lack of empathy dystopian part wasn't as shocking because we've all seen all the dystopian films and all that stuff, but the shocking part this time is how right he was on everything back in what was it, when was the book written? Like 1954?
50 something, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my first impression on rereading it is you're right. Back in junior high, I really didn't quite get it because you're a little naive. You don't quite think that way yet, right?
Mhm.
And I, largely reading it once back then, it didn't make a lot of sense to me because this book starts out really dystopian, right? The first,
Mhm.
you know, probably one first chapter are a little odd, hard to get through, hard to stick with,
Mhm.
and then it all kind of starts to make sense. But and then going back and reading it again now as an adult, it makes perfect sense, and it's actually kind of frightening to think back and look at everything in perspective on how much it kind of represents, our today's society. The main character of the book is Guy Montag. Let's kind of get into the story here.
Yep.
The main character of the book is a guy named Guy Montag, and he's a firefighter. But the catch is, um, how far in the future when the guy wrote this in 1950s, how far in the future do you suppose that he was imagining here?
I don't know. Back then, a lot of futuristic things like 1984, they pictured like
2000, right?
I would say 2000
Yeah,
probably.
yeah.
You know.
So uh, in in the book, firemen no longer put out fires. Firemen started fires.
Hmm.
They always started fires. There was never a time in history when firemen were there to put out fires. They were always there to start fires. And books are illegal because um, they can't have people learning and gaining knowledge and questioning things, right? So the concept was to really take away your ability to think for yourself and just blindly accept everything
Hmm.
that you're told. And essentially, free thinking is a crime, right?
Yes. And not only that, but they're able to convince people that books are the ones that causes pain. That
Yes.
free thought is your enemy. That free will is your enemy.
Right, right. I put the link to the Amazon link to the book in the chat here if anybody's looking to get it off Amazon, or that link would take you then to you could get to Audible from there
Mhm.
also.
Yep.
Right away in the book, start from like the very beginning, the very very beginning starts a twist, right? Where guy's walking home from work one day
Mm-hmm.
and he runs into this girl. They start having this conversation, and this girl starts putting all these thoughts in his head that he had never thought of before. Because if you were born at such a time before you knew the real truth, you never questioned any of these things.
Mm-hmm.
You just went along with it, and he had never had these thoughts before. Like this girl got him questioning, what does the sky look like, and were books always bad? Did firemen always start fires? Were houses always fireproof? Now houses are fireproof. She put in all these weird thoughts in his head.
And
And
mind you that, sorry to interrupt, but mind you, I want to add that it's rare for someone to come up to and talk to you out of the blue, especially him, because he was wearing his uniform, and that is a sign of authority that most people are afraid of.
yeah, fireman was a great authority. They had basically had the power to destroy your whole life, to kill you,
Mm-hmm.
um, in more ways than one. So people didn't interact. It was not common to see people out walking around. It was just a totally uh, kind of a dystopian thing.
Mm-hmm.
And where does it go from there, Steve?
Well, you come to find out that it starts making him think, and he was impressed that she wasn't afraid of him, and she was very unique. So they spent many evenings, talking and walking, on his way from work, and come to find out that he snuck a couple of books.
Yeah, they
And
start to lead you believe that this is going to become a romantic interest,
right.
but it couldn't be complete opposite. Like all of a sudden, one day, this girl disappears out of the blue.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody
Yep.
knows what happened to her. Nobody even speculates. It wasn't uncommon for somebody to just disappear.
Right.
Like people were there one day and gone the next, and nobody knew what happened. When somebody died, it wasn't a thing.
Right. Yep. And so he questions it, find out that she's died, she was hit by a car, and um come to find out that he's stashing a couple of books, he's been reading them, and the department is on to him.
Yeah.
And on now, in one of the nights he goes home, his wife has tried to OD, has tried to kill herself.
Yes, and the wife is a whole whole other fork in the road for this story.
Mm-hmm.
Is so this girl plants the seeds of dissent and thought in his head, and then he goes home to a wife that's completely opposite direction of just buys into everything, is
Mm-hmm.
completely what they want everybody to be. Where her only goal in life, in this society, they call what a parlor where they watch TV. It's basically
Yeah.
your living room,
Mm-hmm.
but the TV screens are is a whole wall of the living room, and kind of the ultimate scenario is to have a big screen on all four walls of the room, and that was her absolute only goal in life. She was totally wrapped up in this false uh, type interactions with people she didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It was her family. She called them her family.
Yep. The family, right?
Yeah, the family.
And you find out you have interactive TV where they actually talk to you, and you can respond, and we'll get to that because I made a bunch of notes of all the predictions. And so, what happened next? Um Comes home one day to find out that she's tried to kill herself, and the two people that show up, they're not really even called paramedics, they're called technicians. And it's just a routine, like the plumber coming by to clean your drains out. It's just routine. There's no sympathy, there's no heart, and he recognizes that. He just, oh, it's routine. And essentially they pump all the drugs out of her, and she's completely oblivious that this even happened.
Don't they completely exchange her blood for new blood? If I'm
Yeah,
not
they
mistaken.
yeah, they do a whole they pump out her stomach, do a complete blood transfusion, and this literally wipes it off her memory. Like she
Yeah.
just feels like she slept good.
Yeah. While she's in bed, it's like it's not even a thing. It's just like they do this every night, multiple times a night.
And so he starts to see this. His eyes start to open, and then he kind of and that, I think it fast forwards to the next day going to work, and they have this thing called the Hound. What it is, it's a robot dog that basically is an enforcer. It spies on you, it hunts you, it can kill you, and the fire department's got it, and he notices it's kind of acting weird around him. Doesn't think anything. He's kind of suspicious of it, and then uh, trying to think. You come to find out he's got a stash of books. He's been curious, and that's what happens next. So he's called on a job where this lady is found with a bunch of books in her house, and she goes down with the house. She actually lights the match, and
Yep.
would rather die with her books than live in the world any longer. And this has really got him questioning.
Yeah. Just a
And
series of events that's got him questioning more and more
right.
what's really going on here. And then I guess ultimately he snaps one day and comes home, and his wife and all her friends are over, right? And they're watching their family,
Mm-hmm.
and he pulls out the books and starts reading to them.
And they freak out.
It's understatement. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, he could have. I mean, he could have brought out weapons against them, and they would have been no more afraid. Um, and then there is a moment where he does read to his wife, and she acts like she's responding to it, but then it just goes right back to her regular thinking. So another day he goes on a job, and come to find out that his job is his own house,
yeah. They make him
and
burn his own house down.
they make us burn his own house down, and that's when the chaos erupts. So, and by the way, this is a bunch of spoilers, so just saying.
Well,
It's a
I kind of
50-year
thought
old book, it's an
after the
80-year-old
last
book.
one, I thought we put the word out. People are welcome to read the book, discuss it with us. So if they didn't read
Hmm.
the book, then I guess you're
Yeah.
going to get it spoiled for you.
Well, not we'll have a good discussion. It might make people want to read the book,
Yeah.
even if you know what happens.
Yeah. Now, by him reading to these people and showing that he had books, like you can't even state the seriousness of it. It's pretty much a death sentence. If
Mhm.
you're caught with books, you're pretty much a dead man.
Yeah.
They're gonna burn down your house, and they're probably gonna send the hound after you to kill you.
Hmm.
So this hound has a needle that comes out of its mouth that injects a lethal dose of morphine,
Yep.
and you just die. And it's probably going to be broadcast on television.
Yep. Yeah. I can't wait till we get into the whole prediction aspect of it.
Okay.
So, in one fell swoop, he willingly, it's not willingly, but he starts to enjoy burning his own house down because now he's in a rage, and he ends up killing his boss, destroying the hound, and now he's on the run for his life. Oh, in the middle of all this, we almost forgot. He befriends a guy that he was like a teacher or
Yeah,
professor or
professor
something,
or something.
and that guy starts to teach him the value of books and why, what happened in the past, and and why they think books are dangerous, and why thoughts, you can't forget the past and all this stuff. And so he goes to that guy, and that guy goes to help him escape. And they actually, for a minute, they plot a way to plant
Yeah.
books in different firemen's houses so their houses would get burned down. But the professor's like, I don't know, that's kind of slow, but hey, let's do it, and anyways, when it finally gets to his house, now he's on the run. He goes to that guy to help him out. He ends up going downriver, and the whole thing is broadcast live on TV. So everybody's keeping an eye out for him. You can watch the live chase right there on TV, and everybody knows who he is. And he ends up losing the scent of the hound by jumping in the water. He floats downstream where he knows that he's been told that there's a group of people that live in the country. They're nomadic, and they have, they're all about books. They're all about free thinking. They're all about thoughts, but the government doesn't seem them see them as a threat because they're out in the woods, they're not in the cities. And so he finds a group of them. They know who he is because of the TV, and they befriend him. And he comes to find out that they all have books memorized and that they are there to rebuild the world when it falls.
Hmm.
And
I think so they each are like assigned a book to memorize, and he becomes, I think, the book of Ecclesiastes, right?
mm-hmm,
Out of the Bible.
yep.
Yeah.
And that was his job, to memorize that. And then one day the bomb drops in the city, and then they start heading towards the city because now they're going to help rebuild society that's been wiped out by war. And that's pretty much the gist of the book. Now that's an oversimplification, because now we can talk about the in-depth predictions and similarities to our world today, from the smallest thing to the biggest concept, on
Yeah.
how that I mean, you could have written that book 5 minutes ago.
And this is what you would have missed if you read this when you were a younger person,
Mhm.
because not only were you younger and not capable of understanding, but the world was very different back then,
Right.
right? We didn't have smartphones, we didn't have social media, we didn't have AI robots, we didn't have a lot of these things. Like, you couldn't even grasp the concept. So this is very even more dystopian back then. But now it's dystopian because yes, it's this futuristic look into reality, but then you start thinking, yeah, all these technologies are here.
Mhm.
We have all of this. When you're talking about Amazon Alexa, uh, you know, Boston Dynamics robots, the big dog,
Mhm. Yep.
right? Um, Books aren't banned yet, but they're working on free speech and hate speech and language, right?
Mhm.
So, yeah, now let's talk about what you just covered there. Let's talk about all those things.
All right, so the first thing, and the people at Sony actually came up to Ray Bradbury and said, "You gave us an idea." And it was the earphones. But now, they're listed as seashells and they fit in the ear. Mind you, this is 1954 that he wrote this. And what do we got now? We got our iPod,
Hmm.
the AirPods, right? Or earbuds, however, Um, it predicted ATMs. It talked about robot bank tellers that were open 24 hours.
I
You
forgot
can go
about
to
that
any
part.
yeah. That one slipped by me. I was like, crap. That's when I started writing notes. I was like, I need to write some of this down, because I didn't realize just how much he predicted. My wife pointed this out that I didn't catch, but the cars and helicopters, the helicopters turn into the cars. They're transformers. Now
Hmm.
we don't really have that yet, but I mean that's a
Well, we have
scientific,
some cars created that are capable of flight. They're not, they're not really produced, but they have prototypes.
right? It predicted the big screen TVs. Mind you, when this book was written, the TV was the size of your toaster, and it had to have tubes. They predicted the flat screen TVs that take up your entire wall. I'm sure some of you might even be watching this video and seeing us on a 65-inch screen. Um, Interactive TV. That's the internet. Also interactive TV. When you think of America's Got Talent, or American Idol, what do? You type in, you text your vote.
Hmm.
And so there's a part of the book where the family asks the wife, "Hey, what do you want to do?" And that's your interactive TV. High speed traffic. It talked about billboards being 100 feet long and cars doing 100 miles an hour on the normal. Um,
Hmm.
uh, the lack of empathy that everybody had. Violence was normal. There's a part where the wives' friends are talking about how many abortions they've had, about how many teenagers they knew that had shot each other, and just people just kind of blow it off. People just like, oh, whatever. The lack of empathy, the moralization of, well, they deserve to die because they didn't think like us. Sound familiar? Um,
Yes.
and then like even like physical stuff, like the robot dog. The my youngest pointed that out, the robot dog, and there's a Instagram post from Ghost Trucker that shows one of them robot dogs at a shipper there in California, a cheese shipper. I don't know what it was doing, but if you do some research on YouTube, you'll see that they can mount guns on these things. They're basically a ground drone that can
Yeah.
handle anything you throw at it. So it even predicted the Hound.
Basically, the way your TV and everything would spy on you is your Amazon Alexa, or
Mm-hmm.
Echo, or
Yep.
even the capabilities of your smartphone.
Mm-hmm.
Like you had to be careful what you did in your own home. The parlor would spy on you.
Yep. And then speaking of which, the police chase. I mean, they show live police chases out of LA all the time.
Yeah, yeah, that one escaped me too.
Yep. And because we didn't, back when, I think you and I are around the same age, back at our age, you didn't even have, you knew that LA had helicopters and that's how they chased people down, but it wasn't live televised,
No,
you know. You always hear like during these police chases in LA, people would actually go to where the chase is and like wave or try to stop the people, and Fahrenheit talked about that. It also, and bear with me this, it also predicted YouTube drama.
ooh, I got to hear this one.
So there's parts in the book where he's surprised on how everybody just argues about pointless things.
Mm, like on
Things that,
wait, is that YouTube or Facebook?
it's all of it. It's all the
Okay,
social media, right?
okay,
Um they keep the people arguing over the parlor over simple stuff that matters nothing in lives. Meanwhile, war is being ravaged, soldiers are being killed, and no one's none the wiser because they're more interested on the he said she said arguments that are happening on in the parlor. And there's
yeah.
a scene in the book and also a scene in the movie where they're like arguing about something, and then they look at the screen and they go, "What do you think?" That's
They're,
social media. That's
yeah,
arguments on social media.
they're teaching us tribalism. One, teaching people that you take sides, right? So when you're doing these high speed chases, like when they were chasing Guy in the end to try to kill him, well, they ended up chasing a guy down, but they didn't bring the cameras in real close. So they just they told everybody it was him, and then they
Hmm.
killed this guy, and people cheered, right?
Yeah.
They cheer for the outcome, or oh, that's a bad guy. He's a bad guy because they told us he's a bad guy, and we got to get him. And then with the uh, people participating in the parlor when there's wars going on, nobody cares. That's what the Roman emperors did when the economy was bad or when things were bad. They would, you know, throw a Christian with the lions at the Colosseum. They would bring him out in the gladiator fights. They'd do
Hmm.
anything they could to distract the people from the reality of what was going on. When they bombed the city in the end of the book, nobody knew who did it. Nobody really
Yep.
knew if they were at war with somebody. They didn't know if their own government did it, if another country did it. It happened, right?
Yeah.
That's the end of it. We'll wait for
Yep.
them to tell us what happened.
And one of the other things that escapes you as a teenager and you get now is that there's a part where the professor, he talks about guys like, why didn't you stand up, why didn't you say something back then? He goes, well, back then I was too scared to. And
Hmm.
so, and it took all these horrific events for me to finally say something. And when I did, no one wanted to join because everybody had already been turned. In other
Right.
words, everybody around him, like, what are you talking about? You don't know what you're talking about. Isn't even important. And so he had no one to join him, not because he didn't have a good cause, but because people were content with their dopamine driven lives. And that was the other thing. It was all about dopamine. It was all about reaction. It was all about, you can't have emotions. They're dangerous. You can't have thought. It's dangerous.
It was so
Um,
dangerous to question the way things were or what you were
mhm.
told that people didn't. Eventually, they didn't even second guess it. They just accept it without a thought of challenging it.
And in a way, they kind of predicted. He predicted digital books, right? Digital. They call them was it tabloids, or I forget what they call them in the book, but and so they were able to rewrite history, which is why people didn't believe that firemen used to put out fires.
Right.
And there's a conversation between Guy and his boss, and come to find out, this boss is actually pretty smart, and he's read, has access to books, reads them, and is knowledgeable of them, and he knew about that history. So you have only a select few people that actually know the true history, and they try to keep it hidden. And Guy didn't even like realize, that this was even a thing until, was it Clarice, the chick in the beginning,
Right.
that was like, "Hey, is it true that firemen used to put out fires?" He's like, "No, that's silly. What makes you think that?" Oh, I just heard, not houses weren't always fireproof back then. And firemen saved people. They didn't cause fires.
Yeah. And you got to wonder where she got it. Obviously, probably from reading books.
Mhm.
And we only know she got hit by a car because that's what his boss told him, right?
Right.
His boss was the one that told Guy that she got hit by a car. For all anybody knows, they could have disappeared her. They could have sent the hound after her. Um, just, oh, that's what happened to the person. And death was very odd in the book. It's like it wasn't. It's like, oh, that person died. No funeral, no further discussion on it. They're just gone.
Yeah, and I think there's a part of the book where he talks about, Guy's boss talks about, there's no reason to dwell on the past.
Right.
There's no reason to be sad when someone dies. It's no big deal.
Yeah, there was
It's part of
zero
life.
value to human life.
Yeah.
None at all. And you were expected to not have any kind of feelings towards human life. Because then you would start to question things.
Right.
Well, should we be sending this hound after people to kill them? Should we be burning them alive in their homes with their books? Should we, whatever.
Yeah, and I think that's what, one of the triggers for him was when that one lady said, "No, I'm going to die with these books." She actually killed herself with those books.
Hmm.
Um, and so go back to our original, not original, but one of our earlier parts of this discussion. When you read this as a teenager, that was the thing that stood out the most to me, was the lack of empathy, right? And so when you watch films like, back in the 80s, we had this plethora of dystopian futuristic films, like Mad Max and Road Warrior and Running Man and Total Recall and um, just
Waterworld.
Waterworld, but just I loved Waterworld, by the way. But anyways, so, and just the lack of empathy from these people, especially like in the first Mad Max, it's just like it just is what it is, right?
Hmm.
And that how the car, remember, there's a scene where he's running from the law, and he tries to cross the interstate, or the highway freeway, and he trips because the car was going to try to hit him, but he trips, and all it was teenagers out for a joyride that like to hit dogs and hit people. And
Yeah.
but they avoided him because he was laying down. He trips, he lays down, and that could flip the car over. That's the only reason why they avoided hitting him. And that
Yeah.
that scene really stood out with me as a teenager. Because back then, I liked the movies like Mad Max and Road Warrior and stuff like that, and that really stuck out with me. Like, imagine if the world was really like that. Well, now you look at it, and that lack of empathy is everywhere.
Hmm.
You see it
Yeah.
on TV. I mean, even like some of the channels where it shows the police take out an obvious bad guy that's actually shooting at him, and what do you read the comments? Oh, this guy deserved it. Yeah, I'm glad he's dead. Oh, they did the world a favor. It's just, there's lack of empathy on so many multiple sides when it comes to social media, and just, and so that was the shocking part when you read it a second time, is, holy hell, man, this dude got a lot of stuff right.
Yeah. I remember, I just remember too, it dawned on me that in the book you could get in trouble for driving too slow. Like you were expected to drive wide open at all
Uh-huh.
times.
Yep.
Yeah, that's strange. Maybe it was to just wreak as much havoc as you could. was the purpose.
Yeah, and that was what teenagers did for fun. You know, they were shooting at each other, they were racing their cars and trying to hit animals along the road and all that. And it's just, you know, the women talking about the multiple abortions they had, um and just, you know, one doesn't even know if her husband's dead or alive, and oh, if he's dead, I'll find another one. You know, just a lack of just thought, just a lack of love, I guess.
Yeah, and in regards to that too, I remember when he went back to work and was ordered to go burn down his own home, and his wife came out and got in a car and left. It wasn't even, or even going back further when he was reading to her, she was just totally appalled by it, and it was such a significant thing to her that it just made her completely walk away from her husband.
Hmm.
Somebody that she got married to, but it was the parlor and her family was way more important. It was the most important thing in her life, and I kind of feel like today, uh, that's where social media is leading. Like to 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 stop you from having real relationships and real interactions with people. Uh, if you can't type it out in 50 characters or less, you're not doing it. You can't.
Right.
People can't have a face-to-face conversation anymore, or pick up a phone and make a phone call. If I can't text you or email you or Instagram or whatever, Snapchat or whatever, it's not worth doing.
And one of the conversations that he had with his wife is, "Hey, when did we get married? Where did we get married?" And she couldn't remember.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until and drilling her like that irritated her. She didn't want to think about that. She didn't want to stir up any old emotions. She didn't want to know why they fell in love. You know, she's like, I don't know. I don't care. I don't remember. You know, and that was intriguing as well, because with all the little, like the devices and those futuristic predictions that are actually here, I don't think there's one element of the book that's not here now.
Um. Yeah. You might be right. I have to think about. I'd like to think we still have some value for human life, although that's largely debatable. Um, we are getting to a point where we just believe anything the government tells us for the most part. Um, mm, Human relationships aren't what they used to be. Yeah, it's you're probably right. So 0 to 10. How would you say how likely you are to recommend this book to somebody? How
Oh,
strongly do you feel about it?
11.
11?
Yeah, I mean it's an important book.
I agree. It's an important book. It can be a difficult read, especially in the beginning.
Yeah.
So if you're gonna read it, resign to the fact that you're gonna stick it out um, at least 2 to 3 chapters. It's gonna start to make sense. The beginning is kind of it's a little difficult. Or did you not have that same experience?
Um.
If you're coming into it cold and never had read it before,
Yeah, I mean, look, I've read some. You know, that's the thing with modern books, right? So, the first time I read How to Win Friends and Influence People, I looked at the original publishing. That book's like almost 100 years old, and so it's written from the perspective of 100 years ago, with the language and just how it's approached, right? And that had a little bit of that going on. It's not in your face like a current new book would be. It's been years since I've actually read a. Well, no, I take it back. The 1 second after was the first fictional book I've read that was more recent. Even that was like 2016. So I'd be curious to see what a fictional book looks like now.
but as we discussed earlier, is
Yeah.
1 second after really fiction?
Right. And
It's
that's kind
almost
of
kind of not.
and this kind of falls under the same category, in my opinion.
Yeah, my favorite kind of fiction book is a fiction book that's kind
Believable.
of sort of not fiction. You know, it could
Believable.
just as easily be true as it is fiction.
Hmm.
Yeah. Um. So, do we want to talk about what we talked about earlier today about you know Fahrenheit 451 and current reality? Um. Did the guy have inside information, or did he have a mind ahead of its time? So, does art imitate life, or does life imitate art? Because we probably differ a little bit in opinion on that one.
Yeah, it's like I remember watching an interview with somebody from Sony who, I guess one of the executives at Sony went to Ray Bradbury and handed him these headphones, the first lightweight headphones. He goes, "Seashells," and Ray Bradbury is like, "Oh wow, cool." Um, nothing. I think it was nothing. What he said that, that. Where's her comment? Said, did I mean it's exactly the question. Did the book create the dog, or did they create the dog because of the book? The robot dog.
Exactly.
Um,
Because this dog exists. If everybody doesn't believe me, YouTube Boston Dynamics,
yep.
the big dog, okay, and that was 15, 20 years ago, and it's evolved from there into the Wildcat and all these humanoid AIs that are so far advanced you couldn't believe. They can do backflips. They figured out balance,
Mm-hmm.
um, and they can be highly weaponized.
Yeah, I remember seeing a YouTube video of a bipod one, humanoid shape, that they tried to knock him over. They tried to knock him
Hmm.
off its feet. They tried to make him slip. They tried to trip him. I mean, this thing could not be taken down. And when you look at modern warfare, a lot of these attacks that you hear about over in Europe and over in the Middle East are done by drones now. That you can literally, they can take a plane from Fort Leonard Wood here in Missouri, fly all the way across the world, bomb something, and bring it back, and all they got to do is refuel it. There's nobody on the plane.
Right.
And when you look at, like, even the technology like our Samsara has, and you could see the sit in a lot of security cameras, they got this face recognition. That I've heard that, like, at the Super Bowl, they use face recognition technology to find people that's on the FBI most wanted.
Crazy.
I mean, and everybody, and I know that some people have talked about 1984. That's going to be on the list eventually, but I mean, because that's a whole different set, and then Brave New World is another one. And I have not read Brave New World. I did read 1984 again around the same time frame.
Yeah, me too.
Um, but what? So back to your original question, um, I think that there's two elements here. At first, you're like, think about if you were to go in a time machine, go 100 years into the future, and then you saw things, and all of a sudden you're thrust back in your current time. Now you had to describe these things.
Right.
You wouldn't have the wording for it,
Hmm.
you know. Um, so there's that kind of little weird quirk, and no, I'm not saying that Ray Bradbury's got a time machine. Who knows if it was a vision that came to him? Who knows? But the element of how they controlled the people is important, because at that time in 1954, we had just gotten done with World War II. World War II was still fresh. And before World War One and World War II, and that would be Ray Bradbury's lifetime, you saw how a lot of these countries rose to power. The tribalism started. It was always the communists or the socialists going against each other, and there were I mean, look at how Hitler did his thing, and how the Mao Revolution did its thing, and I mean, there's a process to controlling massive amounts of people.
Hmm.
And so I think Ray Bradbury took those concepts and put them in a futuristic world. Now, one of the things he got wrong is you don't have to burn books now. All you got to do is rewrite them digitally, and
Mhm.
then the ones that do exist, you demoralize the people that appreciate them, and you create, the whole doxing thing. You can literally you burn the
Label them hate
person,
speech. Yeah.
right? You can burn the
Discredit the author.
person, so
Right.
the book is worthless, right?
Mhm.
Um, and then of course, there's a lot of books now are just fluff. They're pointless. Some are barely even entertainment. You can use a book to create agenda. Well, you don't need books anymore to fulfill agendas. You can do that through the internet. You can do that through headlines. All newspapers are digital. They can have a headline up in 3 seconds. Because by the time, if you get a physical newspaper to your door, by the time that happens, man, all that news is old. You know, um, the instantaneous of like the police chase, and it predicted reality TV. It predicted, in a weird way, it predicted the internet. That was the only vision that is not really clear. And so this whole life, I know you and I had a deeper discussion about this earlier, and there's a lot of elements that I agree with you. Is this like, especially when it comes to modern movies, are
Mhm.
they is life imitating art, or is art predicting life?
Predicting is one way to put it.
Mm-hmm.
Another way to put it is, okay, you say, okay, if Ray Bradbury has a time machine. Another way to say it would be, Ray Bradbury was a influential person of his time, a writer, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in today's world, you would say a movie producer, or even an author like he was, or a content creator, influencer. And the government would go to, or whoever would go to this person and say, hey, um, here's what we're going to do in the future. And we want to prepare people for it. So we're going to tell you exactly what we're going to do. Um, you can, vaguely talk about it in these different ways. Uh, and then when it comes about for people, it's not going to be such a surprise. But we're going to do some really nasty things to them. But we do have a little bit of a heart, so we want to tell them about it first. What we're going to do to them. Um, Maybe you would do that to somebody like Ray Bradbury, whoever wrote the Hunger Games, Mad Max, the Road Warrior, all these different things. Or if you wanted the story out, much the same way, if you wanted the story out, you would go to Anderson Cooper and say, "Hey, um, here's what we're gonna do. We want you to kind of put it out there, but it didn't come from us, and you gotta, stretch the truth a little bit. But we just kind of want people to know." So, I mean, these things could have been very much by design, um, and they could be 50 years ahead of us. What is planned for us, and we have no knowledge of it. But in a subtle way, nudge, nudge, we're kind of told about it. Another way to look at it.
Yeah, that's very interesting. It's funny you call them an influencer, because that's what, um, that's what philosophy was, back in the day. Self-help books, they call them self-help books now, but back in
Hmm.
the day, it's philosophy. Philosophical people like Socrates, or even, I forget some of the others, Jesus Christ, all these different people that had these philosophies. Now they call it self-help, and they put it in a different package, and all they're doing is regurgitating the stuff that was being said, hundreds and thousands of years ago.
Yeah. The people that are in charge here are very crafty. Um, you know where Hitler said he learned propaganda?
No,
Uh, from us. uh,
really.
yeah, yeah, he learned it from us. You know who did concentration camps before he did it? We did during the Civil War. Go back and look at a place called Andersonville. I think it was in South Carolina or Georgia. I believe it was Andersonville, Georgia.
Hmm.
It's where we captured enemy soldiers and put them in a concentration camp and starved them to death. Like
Wow.
literally, it was the most brutal conditions that people had ever seen up to that point. And he just took it and ran with it. But
Wow.
history doesn't reflect that we did that first. So Everything old becomes new again. Yeah, Anderson. If you don't know about Andersonville, um, I highly encourage people to look into that because it's a very disturbing part of our history.
Right. Well, do you want to get into some comments and then maybe we get some
Yeah,
input
yeah,
from
yeah,
other people?
yeah. Absolutely. Let me just I'll
Mind you,
throw
we're
the
45 minutes behind on comments now.
oh geez. Sorry folks. It's just we get wrapped up. I'm gonna put the link up here if anybody wants to come in and talk about this. We're not talking trucking tonight. Trucking is forbidden. It's a
Forbidden.
forbidden
I
topic.
warned people during my live feed this morning that trucking would be forbidden.
Yeah, this is something to take your mind off of trucking. So there's that. And yeah, let's get to some comments. I'm sorry. Okay, Snorlord's in here, obviously. There he is. Six Semper Tyrannus, thanks for coming in. Hot Seat says Bux, Wendell the Librarian. Okay. I don't know who that is. Killian's Trucking, thanks for coming in. Seven Seas Transport Turbo. Jackknife TV says, are we talking about reefer Fahrenheit? We are not. We are not. Kelly Patterson in the house says, hey, handsome man, he must be talking about you. Trucking with MC, what's up? Let's see, this might be trucking.
No.
Nope, not trucking, so we'll read it. Jackknife TV says, so how about the largest egg producing factory suddenly bursting into flames at the most convenient time? I did not hear about this.
Yeah, that was the one up in Connecticut, I believe, and I don't know what the cause of the fire was. I don't know how big it was, but we were talking about the chicken feed earlier. There's headlines out there saying that people believe that the chicken feed is keeping chickens from laying fewer eggs or keeping chickens laying fewer eggs, and I know a couple of people personally that have actually experienced that.
Mm, okay. Kelly Patterson says Fahrenheit and Celsius are such archaic and antiquated measurements of temperature. That is why, Kelly, at all times I refer to the Kelvin system. I'm reverting back to the Kelvin system of temperature. George Wilson says hello. What do we got? George Wilson says a refractor is not used much anymore for reading temperature. Okay. Gary Bates says, let's hear the final results or ending first so we can try to draw comparisons now. Yeah, fun stuff. Hey, we never claim to be professionals here. We're glorified truck drivers. Trucking MCs, hey more. Marty's in the house. Plays on freeways, stopping in. Frank the Tank, how's it going? All right, Doug Kelly, Dennis Richardville, thanks for coming in. Slice of Life says, all right, been waiting on this one. Oh, before we forget, what's the next book? We decided on a next book here, and this we're changing genres on you here a little bit, folks, to keep it interesting. Hopefully, this one's going to be a little bit bigger book. What do we got?
Did we agree on the hacking one?
Yeah.
Okay. The Hacking of the American Mind by Dr. Robert Lustig.
Okay. Let me quick post a link to Fahrenheit 451 in the chat if you want to get that.
You want
And
me
then
to
I'm going to
find the
go.
link?
I'll get
to
the
the
link
other
to Hacking of the American Mind. All right, where we got there? Where did it go? Oh, here it is. All right. Oops, hit the wrong button. Dadgummit. Here we go.
Get your
That's a link.
crap together.
I don't work well quickly. Okay, that second link there is Hacking of the American Mind. If you're looking for that. Grade 8 Transportation stopping in. Shannon Thomas. Oh, can't talk about trucking. Sorry about that. Midwest Mike in the house. Mr. Charles. Okay. George Wilson says the best book to read that actually can help you in life and apply to any kind of business is Lee Iacocca's autobiography from 1984. Okay. We'll keep that in mind. We're going to try to jump around genres here a little bit so we don't get all caught up in one thing. Nothing Woody says houses have always been fireproof. Okay. With both feet. Thanks for coming in. Oh, Mr. Charles says the parlor was the VR goggles of today. Yeah. What do we have today? You're right. They're like virtual reality goggles, but what do we have today that will interact with you by name? What would we be talking about there? I know it exists. Like, what the heck is it?
Alexa,
Maybe
like the internet, like I'm
maybe it
interacting
would
with
be
you now.
virtual reality because you can have conversations with these AI bots and stuff.
Oh, like Sims, like a game like
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
something like that.
Video games. There's a lot of video games where you can have conversations.
Yeah, yep. Uh, Barry Harbison, thanks for coming in. Gary Bates says, "Is this the woke culture?" Uh, what struck me as woke culture is when he was reading the books to his wife and her friends, and just how horrified they were.
Mm-hmm.
It was like you were telling one of these young woke college students that, like, for instance, if you would tell them there's only two genders, right, and they would just freak out at you. You've probably seen these videos, right?
Yep. They
Of,
scream.
yeah, I identify as a binary bunny or something. Mad at you because you won't agree. Shannon Thomas, there you go. Says hit the like button. Thank you. Oh yeah, nothing really says the ex professor was Faber.
Faber, yeah.
Faber, yeah. Jackknife TV says almost sounds like the book The Giver, or at least the same premise. Have you read the book The Giver?
No, I've not.
Okay. Um, Shannon has the canine route planner. Ain't no way she was getting stuck. Okay. Oh, if you're gonna come in, you got to be not driving. You got to be on camera.
Or off camera if you're driving.
Well, I don't want you off camera driving. I don't want nothing to do with driving
Oh, okay.
while you're talking. I don't want to
Good
be.
idea.
I don't want to be named party in a lawsuit. Nothing. What he says. Yeah, I didn't see that before, but Jackknife is right. There are some similarities with the Giver, except in the that one at least they have one person in charge of remembering. Right.
Hmm.
Ooh. So that never really got in the book. Who was the arbiter of information? There
Yeah.
was only certain things you were allowed to believe or participate in, but they never really got into who was in charge of that.
Right. And he knew it was still there because the the colonel or whatever, the boss, he knew all this stuff. And
But
he
did he
just
know it
kind of
because
gave it
he
a
was allowed to
twisted
know
view.
it, or because he was kind of stepped out on his own and was reading books kind of on the down low?
Maybe both.
Okay. Hot Seat says Hell by Robert Olin Butler is good in a similar manner.
Oh.
Okay. Nothing Witty says the robot machine gun dog scares the heck out of me. It does me too, because everybody. Here's the thing about this. Like, we've talked about this and we discussed it in some other books, like the romanticizing of, call it whatever, prepping or whatever, right? Well, I got
Mhm.
guns and a stockpile of ammo, right? I'm ready for whatever. You're not ready for whatever.
Mhm.
Because if you think when the time comes that there's going to be a bunch of people show up at your door to try to arrest you, it's not going to be that way.
No.
They'll send the drone. They'll send a drone with a missile down your chimney, or send one to your door, and whatever. She'll send the big dog to your door, or an
Mhm.
AI, or a you know the local sheriff's department here by me in the nearby town is all proud now because they have their very own armored personnel carrier that was given to them from the military, and they're very proud of it, and they love to bring it out every chance they get, and it's kind of frightening. Like, for the way they misuse it is it's not cool.
Yeah.
Chris says robot machine gun dog already in development and testing. Yes, you are correct. We don't have transforming helicopters yet. Well, that we know of, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
That's
there is an
true.
Area 51. FSC Trucking and Speed Shop prescribed to George Orwell's 1984. Do you know what he's talking about?
No.
Okay. A wheel burner in the house. Thanks for coming in. Nothing what he said. So the seashells inspiring headsets brings up an interesting point. Did he predict robot dogs or inspire them? Yeah, that's the art life dichotomy, right? Did they predict it or inspire it?
Well, I mean, the seashells inspired Sony, so why not? Somebody's like reading Fahrenheit 451. Dude, what if we had a robot dog? All right, let's do that. and boom, 50
Yeah.
years later, you're screwed.
Yeah. Yeah. I was about to say, why not a robot cat? But they did that. The wild cat. They have that too.
Yeah.
Dennis says the world is turning into one big bad reality TV show. It is. It is. And it was very, very much like that in the book where if you stepped out of line, you pretty much wound up on TV somehow
Mm-hmm.
as the bad guy or the guy who's being pursued.
Yep.
It was an event that everybody like gathered around and got behind.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
I mean,
and so we didn't talk about the tribalism thing. How that translates to modern uh, times. So they pretty much teach you to pick a side on everything. And while you're picking sides and busy distracted by that, like we're conducting a whole war on the side here that nobody knows anything about. We don't know who's bombing who. You know, cities all over the U.S. are getting bombed. Um, turbulent times. We're all distracted by what? NFL, Super Bowl, playoffs.
bread and circuses.
Yeah.
Well, there's several types of distractions. The whole arguing about nothing, that was distraction in and of itself. And so you get people, arguing about, like, for example, we're gonna, like I mentioned this morning, people can argue new trucks versus old trucks, right? What's better? What do you run your business with? And you can argue about that and then miss the whole big picture of what it takes to run, right? Same thing with I was talking to a friend of mine about my fuel filters freezing one year because it got cold, and I mentioned that, well, the wind chill was this, so I didn't expect that, but the wind chill was this, and all of a sudden it created this argument whether wind chills affect you know liquids, and all that,
Hmm.
and it just turned into this big argument. Meanwhile, I'm still the moron at the truck stop with the frozen fuel filter.
Right.
It's end result. And so I think that when you can manipulate the masses with emotion, that is a distraction in and of itself. So yeah, it's easy to get the people that are into the bread and circuses, but if you get them arguing about things that really don't matter, things that they think they're being wronged, I mean, what happens every time there's a mass shooting? Oh, what are they distracting us from? What are they trying to hide? And you hear about these big stories in the news while these big bills are being passed in Congress that have
E-
nothing to do with any of our rights.
Every time there's like the what do you call it, a sexual misconduct thing by a politician, I automatically think, what are they trying to hide?
Right. Yeah.
Like the Gary Condit thing and the Lewinsky thing and all this and that. But at any rate, yeah, when you're right about the emotion thing, and when you take away the people's ability to think for themselves, or take away the permission for them to think for themselves, all they have left is emotion.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
you know, by dumbing down people with social media and blah blah blah, we're kind of at a certain point, because then facts become irrelevant. People are entitled to make up their own facts. We kind of have that now. Like, you're trying to force me to accept your facts that are not facts; they're just your opinion. Yet you want to push them off as facts and force them on me and take away my ability to form my own thoughts. Then all you have left is emotion, and they're very
Yeah.
emotional when they do this.
And we show proof, 100% proof, 100% facts. And because the person that you're arguing against cannot emotionally handle it, just like the ladies at the parlor couldn't handle the books he was reading out
Hmm.
loud, they completely just la 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 la, just completely discount it, even though you have proof, even though you could physically show them something, and they still won't believe it. And so yeah, so that emotion comes out, and that's one of the things from How to Win Friends and Influence People. When you argue with someone, they're going to hate you. If you're right, they're going to hate you.
Gonna hate you
If you're
more.
wrong, they're going to actually hate you more. If you're wrong, then they're still going to hate you for challenging them. And so nothing's ever solved. That's why a lot of these social media deals are nothing but echo chambers. When you watch a video and it shows all these truth and facts, and there's like back when you could see the thumbs down before YouTube had to protect us from our feelings getting hurt, you would have like 4,000 thumbs up and 2 thumbs down. Well, are you really reaching a different audience? No, you've got a bunch of people. You have 4,000 people going, "Yeah, I agree." But they can't get that out to the masses, and now you don't even see the thumbs down, so it could be complete crap, and you wouldn't know it.
Hmm.
So
And you're not doing the creator any favor by, you know, not letting him know that, we don't like this.
right,
Do a better job, whatever. Anyway, moving on. Hot Seat says, "How do you kill 11 million people?" by Andy Andrews is also interesting. Dang, you're going deep there, Hot Seat. Mr. Charles says his wife told him, but forgot to tell him till he asked. Okay. I forgot what we were talking about at that point. See, that's what happens when I get 45 minutes behind in the comments.
I do that all the time. Like, what are you talking about? Oh yeah.
Sorry about that, Mr. Charles. Nothing Witty says, I'm getting screenshots of these other book recommendations. Okay. But boy, we got a lot of reading to do. Yeah, if we're going to do this.
I just have to skim over and pick and choose.
Yeah, we got to learn to take them speed reading courses. Chris says, need to run to board a plane. Strongly recommend 1984 for the next book. We'll get to that sooner than later. How about that? We already picked our next book. It's Hacking of the American Mind.
Mm-hmm.
Who wrote that? By Robert H. Lustig and Penguin Audio. Oh, Penguin Audio is reading it.
Yeah.
Okay. And yeah, we put the link in the thing there. Gary Bates, I pooped on the like button and it changed colors. Try it. Oh, geez. Wheelburner says, it's a sad state that in today's society, most conversations are done via text or some kind of messenger instead of face to face. Whatever happened to just sitting down and talking with someone? We've lost the ability, largely.
Yeah.
And we're also taught to only communicate in 15 to 30-second sound bites is
Oh
what it
yeah.
is now with TikTok and YouTube Shorts and,
And it's
insert
killing our
whatever here.
attention spans.
Absolutely. It's what it's doing to your mind is a tragedy.
Yeah.
What is it going to be in 30 years from now when the generations that were around before this are gone?
I think none of us are going to be around in 30 years. Come on now.
It's true. It's true. Nothing Witty says, I remember maybe 10 years ago hearing about a baby who died because the mom was so busy on Facebook she completely neglected the baby. So we have that, but at least it's rare enough still. If yeah, there's a lot of worse things going on though too. Uh, that's I'm gonna have those discussions. To be newsworthy, yeah. Jason says, I agree. 1984, this was the play that our school put on in 1985. I thought back then that would never happen. Yeah, I
Wow.
remember distinctly parts of 1984. I will reread that for sure. Nothing Witty, I agree. Beginning is a little tough with the writing style. It got easier for me within a handful of pages. Okay. See, I don't know how long it took to get a little easier because I did the audiobook, so I don't know how many pages in we are. I was just guessing like a chapter. Hot Seat says, this is how they tell me the world ends by Nicole Perlroth is a good audiobook. Okay. Didn't Hitler also learn about eugenics from America? Yes, we used to do that as recently as like the 60s, I believe. I'd read some on that. Like people, we would put in mental institutions or we had forced sterilization for a long time in this country, a lot longer than people realize. If you were deemed, deficient, you were forcibly sterilized. Mr. Charles says, my question is, was this book a hit or popular at the time, or did it become popular years or decades later? That's a good question.
So the new version that I bought actually, has like 20 pages of of his notes, of his drawings, and I haven't read that part yet, but I think that in the beginning it wasn't like blockbuster, but as time went on, I think, because Ray Bradbury was a very popular author. I don't know where in his on his his list of books that where it stands. I don't know. It might have been his first book. I don't know, but I think it was a slow start. But I could be wrong. But I think the new version, if you buy the new paperback, it has like 20 pages of kind of like the book version of the bonus features on a DVD. If you guys can remember those too.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Aaron J. Hitler learned eugenics from the U.S. Yes. Marty says check out Asian My Show's last video. Okay, I'll have to do that. Steve Wildman in the house. Thanks for coming in. Shannon Thomas read the book recently. Okay.
We're talking about the Robert Lustig one.
Oh, okay. The hacking of the American mind. Okay.
Yep.
With both feet says no danger in DIY packing anything, judging by his ability to put links in the chat. I don't know what that means.
I think they're
What does that
making
mean?
funny.
Well, of course I know, but he's entitled to do it. Number one, and number two, I just don't know what it means. Packing
No,
anything.
man, you got to get emotional and argue about it, and not know what the hell we're talking about.
Oh, hacking anything. Okay. Oh yeah, no danger in me hacking anything, judging by my ability to place links, or yeah, just about anything else.
I thought maybe you couldn't like manage a gun because you couldn't put a link in the video. I thought that's
Maybe
what he meant.
they treat me like oh dog like Don Knotts, right? From Mayberry. Dan's Hot Shot Trucking. Ooh, Dan changed his name. Dan's Hot Shot Trucking and Outdoor Adventures. Since I ditched cable a while back, I should probably read more, but then I might miss these awesome videos and lives. Well, I tell you what, most of this stuff you can find right on YouTube. Like I think Fahrenheit 451 is free on YouTube, isn't it?
Yes, audio version.
And various other books. There's a lot of it out there.
Yep.
Yes, sir. Gary Bates says half hour. Okay. Paul Tuttle's autobiography, founder of Orange County Choppers, Montgomery, New York, iron worker by profession turned custom motorcycle building into a business. Okay, I didn't know he had a book. Steve says Frozen Filter 1. Okay. Mr. Charles says a lot of people are now saying Facebook, Twitter, TikTok as facts or sources it's said. Yeah, and now there's this new thing called GPT chat. Do you know about this?
Nope, never heard of that.
It's AI, and you put a couple words in and it'll write you a whole story about anything. Whether it's true or not, it doesn't matter. AI will write a whole story or article.
Wow.
And they're saying that this is going to be kind of how articles and stuff are written now. And there's people aren't going to have any idea if what they're reading is true, but it'll be everywhere. So it's crazy,
scary.
And I've read some things that have been written by GPT chat, GPC chat, I think, and you wouldn't know a human didn't write it.
Wow.
Iron Sharp take away their ability to earn a living, and they won't survive long. I don't know. A lot of people last for how long now ain't working and seem to live better than I do. I'm thinking about quitting and figuring out how they do it because damn, they all got a lot nicer vehicles than me and everything. Can't imagine.
I was once at a traffic light and this chick was doing the whole "Help me, I'm homeless" sign, and she gave up because it started to rain. I watched her walk to a brand new F-150. I'm like, son of a bitch.
Yeah. Yeah. No, but I understand what you're saying there, Iron Sharp. That's the way things are supposed to work. But not anymore in America.
Nope.
Right. Hot Seat says The Hacking of the American Mind by Robert Lustig will be a great discussion. Okay. Have you read that book, Hot Seat? You care to join us? Don't rush us timing out. Okay. Iron Sharp says commercials on TV and radio program. You have to have an attention span of 2 to 3 minutes. It takes years to deprogram, throw out the TV, and turn off the radio. It's a good start, and tune out social media. YouTube is really the only social media I do, and I barely consider it social media because it can be used for so many different things like education, any kind of learning, entertainment.
Yeah, agreed.
Facebook doesn't come with an explanation. You post something, you got so many characters to explain it. Same with TikTok or any of the Instagram, any of these things, and then it just got to stand on its own. Whereas on YouTube, you can tell the story, you can relate your point, you can explain things. So
Hmm.
it's maybe long, was it long form social media maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah. With both feet says hot seat is scaring me with her casual reading titles. Yeah. Um, wait, where did I? Okay. Mark Chan Moet Chandran says I have enough money. Oh,
That's
oh,
a trucking
that's
thing.
that's a trucking thing. Moet, they'll have to do that on another night. Marty says, Adam, what year were you born? I was born in 1970 something. Uh,
He's so old he don't even remember.
mid. Oh, that's not funny because yesterday I was talking to one of my friends on the phone and my wife was sitting there and I said to the guy, he was telling me he just turned 40 whatever and I'm 47. And I said to him, oh, that's nothing. I'm about to turn, what did I say, 49 or something. And my wife's like, no, you're not. No, that's not how old you are. And I was completely convinced that that was what it was going to be. Didn't even know how damn old I was.
My wife and I have similar discussions. I've
Yeah.
actually said, "How old am I?" My wife looks at me like, really?"
At a certain point, what does it even matter? It's like not 30. I'm not 40. Damn near 50. Uh, Caribbean Casanova says, I really appreciate your vids, just giving straightforward information without any of the fluff. I subscribed after watching my first video just now, and you just happened to be live. Salute. Well, thank you. Also, make sure to check out Snorlord here. He has a channel. Go ahead and tell him all about your channel, Mr. Snorlord.
Well, I got two channels. One is Snorlord, the metalhead Viking caveman trucker, where I talk about trucking stuff. I cover the spot market, I cover strategies, I cover all the things that I've experienced in the past and in the current. And then I have Snorlord OG, which is all over the place. It's not related everything to trucking. We could talk about all kinds of different things on that channel. So
Okay. Hot Seat says, have no fear with both feet. I also read books like The Blue Highways and The Kindness of Strangers. Okay. Iron Sharp says, the King James Bible is the only truth you can count on. That would be a heck of a book review, wouldn't it? That would take a while. That would take
yep.
some time. Nothing witty. I already have no idea what's true or not in the news. I don't know if AI journalism will be much different. You know,
That's
I
true.
don't even watch the news or even participate in it. A couple of years ago, I even started thinking like, how would I know if this is true or not? How would I know?
Right.
Um, so I just choose not to really participate. All I need to know, I'll know. I'll need to know what the weather's like outside. I'll need to know, you know, whatever. It's most of it is noise anyway.
Hmm. Yeah.
And you're only going to hear what they want you to hear. Like if we're at war somebody where or whatever, we're going to hear exactly what they want us to hear. We're not going to hear any any failures or whatever.
Oh
You're going to hear
yeah.
what they want you to hear.
Yep.
Um, with both feet. Oh, thank you, sir. Channel member, by the way. It says both Snorlord and DIY have channel memberships available. Yes, we do. Uh, George
Thank
Wilson
you.
says I'm a 1965 production model. Ooh, it's a good year. It's a good year. Iron Sharp says watch Newsbenders 1968 on YouTube. Unbelievable. Okay,
Hmm.
haven't heard of that. Uh, Here, if we can drop your link there, Snorlord, we'll get you a new sub here. Caribbean
Okay.
Casanova says, go ahead and drop the link. If I was any kind of a host, I would know exactly how to do that.
Oh, I got it. I got it. I got.
Okay.
We'll do the first channel. Copy.
So next, we're going to do hacking of the American mind. And then I'm thinking maybe we jump genres again. Maybe do something, I don't know, business related or something that could help people out in that. Um,
Yeah.
then
I
maybe
think.
we go back to 1984 and
Yeah. We'll be all over the place. We'll be so unpredictable.
I like it.
It'll be killer.
All
Let
right,
me
there
get
is
my other channel up
Snorlord's
here. That's my main
link
channel.
to the main channel. If you're into trucking, join just about every weekday. Snorlord is live in the morning.
Yep,
Talking
Monday,
about
Wednesday, Friday usually. So
heat maps. Talking about
heat.
dispatching. George Wilson says Chicago news media makes me sick. They're so liberal. You need to have a couple of 5-gallon buckets at your side. Yeah, I don't think there's a lot of truth anywhere, really, on either side. It's that tribalism thing. They make us pick a side, right? I want to be on the side of the truth.
Yeah.
Mr. Charles says even the King James Bible was translated, but it's one of the closest translations. Yeah, and even that we'll never really know, right? Then haven't they found old books of the Bible that were excluded? From my understanding.
Yeah, not only that, but Hebrew translation is incredibly challenging. So
Yeah, that's how I spend my spare time. Hebrew translations. Um, hey, guilty pleasure. Nothing witty says one more thing about the book. It's significant. His name is Guy. He's just an everyman type. Could be any of us. All we know about him is his profession.
huh.
This is true.
That's a
This
great
is
point,
true.
nothing witty.
Um, okay, there's Snorlord's link to his other channel. Well, did you put both channels up here?
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Oh,
right
okay, there it
under
is.
nothing
Okay.
witty's comment. Yep.
Yep. Okay, Gary Bates dropping his link also. Thank you, Gary. Yeah, everybody. I need somebody grab a membership because I understand Gary's in some tough times. Had to drop his membership, so I have an opening. If anybody's interested, that's all right, Gary. Got to do. Everybody's faced with tough decisions right now. Sage Outcast Productions, me too. What's another channel name change? What's going on there, Sage?
He changes his name more times than I change my underwear.
Yeah. I got more miles backing up around the block than you got changing your YouTube channel name. Grade 8 Transportation Taxes Have Consequences by Art Laffer. Yes. Good review for Trucker Money. Ooh, that's a sore spot. That's a sore spot. I'm sorry. I like doing that. I haven't had the time. I'll be honest with you, and I don't want to half-ass it. But yeah, maybe it's time to resurrect. I need to resurrect my YouTube channel here. It's dying. Slow
Yeah,
death, but
I called Adam earlier, and he's like, "Thanks, you interrupted me making a YouTube channel or a YouTube video." I'm like, "Oh, sorry." And he's like, "Oh, it sucked anyways."
I believe I said making YouTube magic. Oh, incidentally, if everybody wants to be cool like me, and stylish, what do they say? Black top, big T-shirt, Billie Eilish. Here's a DIY semi hoodie for y'all. It's cold out. It's 1 degree here in Wisconsin right now. It was going to be 13 below zero tonight, maybe even colder. Hey, I ain't even worried about it. I got me a DIY semi hoodie right here.
Nice.
Wherever I go, people. I went to the post office today wearing it, and she's like, "Is that yours?" I'm like, "You damn right. It's also available for purchase in my merch tent. Right below this video, right below every video."
I have
So
merch too. I don't know if I
you
have
do.
hoodies. Yeah.
Why aren't you wearing any of it?
Um, because I only own one, so I don't want to wear the same shirt every day. I
Okay.
do use my coffee mug every day.
All
Try
right.
to.
Mr. Charles says, yes, it is a very difficult language. See, that's why I don't have time to make my trucker money videos anymore because I'm busy translating Hebrew. With both feet says, is that one to sit on and one to puke into, Mr. Wilson? Yes, there you go. Sage Outcast Production says he's trying to break the algorithm. You going to break the algorithm or is the algorithm going to break you? That's what you got to ask yourself. Oh, Truckers Education Network in the house. Thanks for coming in. That's warm for Wisconsin. It's it's balmy. As long as the wind isn't blowing, you're fine. Incidentally, Truckers Education Network also has a channel. Everybody check that out. It is, as the name states, educational. So if you're looking to get a trucking education, what better place to find it?
Yep. And for fun, he goes out snowmobiling.
Ooh, we used to snowmobile here until it stopped snowing 10 years ago. The trail literally goes through my driveway, and
Huh.
the trail didn't even open the last 2 years.
Wow.
Yeah, Hot Seat says DIY's memoir will be titled "I Got More Miles." That's a good one. I'll
That would
change it.
be you could write a book and that would be the title.
Write it in Hebrew. Funny twist on it. And then for extra as a value added proposition, I'll have include an English translator.
And then and I could read it for you like on the Audible version.
There you go.
That'd be awesome.
James Clark says because Shannon wears all your merch.
She does. She's a big fan.
She's wearing the Snorlord merch.
Oh,
Wow.
you should have seen her Sunday, man. She's wearing the Snorlord T-shirt and the Snorlord mug, just like doing the whole QVC / Price is Right thing, just like doing the. I mean, she's my number one merch seller.
Nice. I need one of those because I don't sell any merch. And I tell you what, the biker shorts I got and the what do you call them, the leggings are fire. Every chick needs a pair of those.
I have
Telling you.
shorts, but no. I did the shorts wrong on the logo because I used Teespring, and the Snorlord's actually on the butt, not in the front.
Exactly. Where everybody's looking, anyways. Marty St.
I don't have
Amar says, I
leggings,
found
though.
a new YouTube trucker channel. Can I drop their link? Hey, as long as it's on the up and up. We don't want to clickbait anyone. Snorlord has black t-shirts. I buy his merch. Okay, thank you. Trucker
Yeah,
education.
you need. I looked at your store. You need more black shirts. You got like this
Hey,
yellow and red.
I don't see
and
color, my friend. I'm colorblind. Don't turn
all
this
the more
into a racial thing. Truckers Education Network says, got to play on the tractor plowing. Ooh, what kind of tractor you got? If you want to talk tractors, I'm going to turn this channel into Tractor Talk Now. We're just going to talk about tractors all the time.
He had to use his tractor to push my bobtail up his driveway because when I signed on, they installed the ELD. It was in February, and it was slick going up the driveway, and so he had to get behind me and push with his tractor, and then I left half of his driveway on his street because rocks and mud was going everywhere. It was awesome.
Yes. The English language is required to be spoken by every employee at every airport in the world, not the Hebrew language. English language is the international standard. Yeah, that's not as fun. Let's be honest. Hebrew 10 Commandments, yes. Oh, Shannon says my merch is next. Okay, that'd be great.
Look,
Night Ranger.
look, go back to that comment. She's wearing my shirt right there in that thumbnail.
Daggone it, you're right.
I'm gonna make her a little Snorlord shirt for the dog as soon as it stops growing.
Nice. Oh, that's a Night Ranger. That's a trucking comment. I can't read it. It's strictly forbidden here tonight. Although he did call me an SOB, so that's all right. That's all right. Congratulations, Night Ranger. Good job. Well done. Iron Sharp, I'll stick with the King James Version so you can try to learn Hebrew and get a copy of the Torah. All right. Some DIY socks would be nice. Ooh, I don't know if Teespring has socks. I'm still trying to come up with a good idea for a hat. Teespring does not do a good hat. And
I tried to do a hat and they wouldn't take my file, which is a really good file. So they
I
go
had
to
some
hell.
T-shirts that wouldn't take my file. So, yeah, I got to come up with a thing for a good hat. Okay, James Clark, I have an English to Hebrew translation, also the English to Greek translation. Trying to learn biblical to Hebrew. Ooh, so better set some time aside. Ooh, Trucker's Agitation. He's got a Mahindra 2660. Okay, it must be a loader tractor. My loader tractor is International 574. Cab version. Oh, I ain't got nothing with a cab. So you're one up on me. Next, you're gonna tell me it's a heated and air conditioned cab. Yeah, keep that to
I
yourself,
think it
Mister.
is.
Although I told my wife yesterday, I really need a skid steer. Like a, so she's like, oh, she told me, I got this big concrete picnic table in the front yard. It weighs 1,000 pounds, and she wants it set up. It's in pieces. That's got to be carried about 150 yards up to the house. I'm like, I don't have anything to lift it. She's like, what? You got like 30 tractors in the shed. Are you telling me not one of them can lift that thing? I'm like, well, yeah, only one of them's got a bucket on it, and it doesn't run right now. So I'm gonna need to buy a skid steer so I can lift with pallet forks so I can lift that thing up and bring it over to the house. She's like, "Oh, great!" It's funny.
Well,
She's
that's
right.
when they're like, "No, honey, you're right. I don't have anything that will pick that up. So we have to buy a new thing."
Hmm.
Wives love it when you tell them that.
Exactly. Exactly. Um, is your 574 have a 2250 loader? No, it's got some oddball on there. We'll try this again, Gary. There you go. Gary's not driving anymore.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Yes.
All right. All
What's
right.
happening?
Not much. Just got stopped.
Okay.
Making.
So
Is it cold where you're at?
There is a layer of ice that has been, plowed here in Illinois, right at the Indiana-Illinois border, basically.
sounds like trucking. What else you got? Have you
Not
read
much.
Have you read said book?
No, I have not, but it was intriguing to hear the comparisons with the things in the future. I think the word is dystopian, and
Yes.
I think I looked that one up because of you guys. Heard it before, but didn't really understand it.
Okay. When I say it, I mean like this weird, um, futuristic, distorted reality. It's kind of what I mean when I say dystopia. Now, that's probably not the right definition for it, but that's the best way I can describe it.
It's okay. Yeah, I mean that kind of gets it. Kind of puts
Well,
the.
I think dystopian's like a negative. Like, you got science fiction, which is like, you can go 2,000 years ahead, with spaceships and all that, like Star Trek or whatever. But dystopian is usually, especially in the movie genre, it's more like a not too distant future, and it looks at the progression of humanity, and if it continues on this course, what would that look like? And I think that's kind of what dystopian is in my book, in my opinion. So
Yeah,
Okay.
I was just from what you guys were saying. I was just thinking, well, it kind of sounds like what is characterized as the woke culture, and I hope that's not a bad. Hope that's not a striking word. Or demonetization word. I don't know if that is right.
Not worried about it.
Okay. Well, yeah, it sounds like because it seems like what's being portrayed as kind of the contemporary culture. In my opinion, I'll give it my opinion because I'm sure there are many people that don't characterize it the way I do, but it seems like there's a lot of fighting going on, a lot of lack of empathy, and I mean, just probably my demographic. We're probably all about the same demographic, so we might see things differently than different ages or decades or whatever, but that's just kind of what I seem to view.
No, you're right. The woke culture thing. Um, how do I put it? Like, it's almost like facts are not relevant in that culture to an extent. Um, it's feelings.
Well, just
And
missing the
facts are
point. Yeah,
subjective.
just like missing the point.
Yeah. Like 2 + 2 is 4, but it can also be 6, right? In this today's culture, right?
Right, because
That's
somebody's
that's a
going to
no way
say that.
true, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I like what
I'm
Hot
listening.
Seat
Sorry.
said. Dystopia is when the pursuit of utopia goes wrong and ends badly.
Damn it, Hot Seat is smart.
She is.
Either that or she's quick with the Google.
Which is smart.
She's got the Googles figured out.
Well, I mean, it's just persuasion anyway. Just if you can persuade somebody to believe that you're smart, there you go. That's
Yeah,
got it
and
all.
it's like, okay,
That's all I
say
do.
a kid today is in math class, right? And the teacher says, okay, on Sunday, 50 kids went to the zoo, right? And 45 kids did not. How many more kids went to the zoo than didn't? And then
Well,
they would spend the next hour talking about the difference isn't 5. The difference is, huh? How come some families are rich enough where they can go to the zoo, and some families are poor and they couldn't afford to take their kids to the zoo? Is that really fair? Right. That's the new math class.
Oh, and then
right.
also go, how dare you want to even look at animals in a zoo, because how dare you even keep an animal in a zoo?
Right.
You're a horrible person for even thinking this.
And 50 years ago when Ray Bradbury wrote that book, that would be dystopia. Now it's kind of reality. That's kind of what we do.
Yep.
So is that kind of an illustration of what you're talking about, Gary?
Yeah, pretty
Or
much.
fair enough? Close enough? It's about as close
Fair
as this
enough.
it's as close as this dull mind can get to such a sharp topic.
Yeah, yeah. I'm on board with that. Yeah.
Okay. Are you Gary? Are you going to join us in the next book, The Hacking of the American Mind?
How many pages is it? How about
Well,
that?
let's see. It is
I have a copy
questions and whatnot. Let me look. I'm on the Amazon.
You got it right here.
It's 10. If you listen to it on audiobook, it's 10 hours and 26 minutes. So it'd be one heck of a long book. But the good news is you can get it for the low price of $9. You might even be able to find it free.
Is it on Kindle?
Yeah.
Or is that
Kindle.
ancient?
It's 286 pages if you don't count all the glossary and the references and all that.
4.5 star rating out of 926 ratings. That's pretty darn good.
What genre? I mean, or is it fiction, nonfiction?
It'd be nonfiction.
Sci-fi?
Nope.
Nonfiction.
It's not science fiction. It's another. You can call it dystopian a little bit if you want. No, it's this doctor who was he was a pediatrician. He discovered a few things, and he's put 2 and 2 together on what corporate America is doing to make us consume, and it dives into all areas. And where we've lost the ability to find true happiness. It's all about pleasure. So it's a great book, great discussion. My wife's read it. I've read it. I believe Shannon's read it. Hot Seat, it looks like she's read it. It will open your eyes and change your perspective of what how we're treated as cash cows. So it's a great book. It'll definitely open your eyes.
I'm not going to read it because ignorance is bliss, and I choose to be happy.
Okay.
I'm just going to talk about it as if I had read it.
There you go. That's all we need to do.
How long do I have to read it?
Oh, this could take weeks or months.
Yeah, we decided on Fahrenheit 451 like 6 months ago.
Yeah.
And then one day, Adam just calls me, "Oh, hey, by the way, I'm done with the book." I'm like, "What? Yeah, I'm not done with it yet." So.
Yeah, that's it's interesting. I'll have to look it up, and I'll have to review again. What was it called?
The Hacking of the American Mind.
Okay. All right.
I'll once again I'll put a link so people can.
I don't know if that'll.
Oh yeah, I saw those links. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I'm like Snorlord. It almost needs to be physical, and the Kindle seemed to be okay. I could never figure out, how large the pages were sometimes. So, like you have, 280 pages, and then all of a sudden you turn on the Kindle, and because of the size, it either goes from 280 to 500 or, back and forth. But it's kind of nice when you can read a page and turn the page pretty quick. So I guess that, maybe I have a shorter attention span than some people. I don't know. So
Well,
it's kind of interesting.
I've got the physical book and the audio book, and it's just 10 hours is about average for most books that I've listened to on Audible. I think 8 to 10 hours. So.
Well, we're at the just beyond the hour and a half mark here. So, is there anything anybody else wants to mention about this book or the next? I don't want to drag it out and bore people, so we want to keep it exciting.
Oh, for sure. There's one thing though. If I do an audio book, who gets less view time or listen time? Which channel? Snorlord or DIY? Because it's 10 hours, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, somebody's going to lose 10 hours of, my listening.
We'll take that out of Fate Trucking's channel. How about that?
Yeah, there you go.
All right. Fair enough again.
Either that or just stay up more. Don't sleep. Just sleep less.
Oh, yeah. I could take less time away from sleep. Yep.
I'm assuming you have a second cell phone or a tablet.
There's a tablet, couple phones, laptop.
Right, so you can play our videos on all of them while you're listening to the audiobook.
There
I
you
do
go.
that all the time.
There you go.
I'll be watching a TV show and listening to someone's YouTube at the same time. I'm a multitasker.
Yeah, when I do that, it drives my wife crazy. So I try not to do that. But okay. Well, thanks everybody for coming in. Thanks for doing this. Like I said, no real timetable. Might take me a while to get through this next one. The Snorlord's already through it. Gary, you'll have to jump on it, and we'll do this again here shortly. Check out Gary's channel. Thanks everybody. Thanks everybody in here. People that have a channel: Gary Bates with Both Feet, Shannon Thomas Trucking, Truckers Education Network. Who else do we have here? I'm probably missing some people. Anybody off the top of your head that I'm missing here, Snorlord? Sage Outcast Productions.
Yep.
Let me scroll through the chat here. If I missed you, I'm sorry. I can't seem to go back to Wheel Burner Express.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Does Mr. Charles have a channel? No.
Yeah. Well, he does, but he never posts anything to it.
Okay. Jackknife TV. Kelly Patterson. Yeah. And if I missed you, don't be mad at me. Killian's Trucking. There we go. All right. So we'll do this again. Everybody have a great night, and we will see you later.
Later.